Hey there! Welcome to Culture by Culture, a multidimensional exploration of Black and Asian pop cultural ties. I'm your rhythmically challenged host, Delia. And today, I'm joined by the K-pop dance team, one of a kind. Hi, y'all.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have y'all. But before we get into it, go ahead and introduce yourselves, what y'all do. If y'all have roles, do y'all have roles? See, I don't even know. See, we're already learning. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start. Hi, my name is Reinah McNeil. I am a junior broadcast journalism major, history minor, living in Arizona. And last year I served as the head editor of One Oak, but this year I'll be serving as the creative director.
Very cool.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mia Sturdivant. I am a rising senior history major, secondary education minor from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm currently serving as One Oak's vice president.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Washington. I am a rising junior, psychology major, and criminology minor, living in Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm just a regular old dancer on the One Oak dance team.
Very cool. I'm so excited to have y'all. I was saying before we were recording, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but I saw y'all in person here in DC during Embassy Week. The Korean Embassy had, I think it was just called the K-pop dance and singing competition or something like that, which, by the way, One Oak won, just saying. No big deal. And they were amazing. So I was like, I'm going to have to try and get them on the podcast at some point. We're going to have to fix the schedule, figure it out. So I'm very excited to have y'all here. For the folks that don't know I have quite a few listeners who are kind of new to the K-pop space. They don't really know a lot about K-pop. So before we really get into the meat of it, would y'all care to explain to the audience what a K-pop dance team is?
Well, I would personally describe a K-pop dance team as a group of people who tend to cover the choreography of a K-pop dance that usually is accompanied with a title track of each release from a different group.
Mm-hmm.
So that can include an all-boy group, an all-girl group, or a co-ed group. We don't really specialize in one certain type of dance. We just do any type of K-pop song cover, but we do not choreograph any of our own dances, for now at least. We usually just copy the choreo as it's presented to us through those music videos or stages.
Okay, so for people who don't know, y'all were talking about your majors and stuff, and that's because specifically y'all are a K-pop dance team at Howard University. I assume most people know that's an HBCU, but just in case you don't, it's an HBCU, okay, here in DC. So they're local to me. Although I was surprised to hear where y'all are from, because obviously y'all are not necessarily from around here, but I just kind of forgot. So that was interesting. But yeah, so they're a K-pop dance team specifically at Howard University. And I just am curious. I don't know who are the founding members or what have you, but like you go to college, you're at an HBCU, you're taking it all in, having a good time, I imagine. What is the inspiration to start a K-pop dance team? Are you looking for just fellow K-pop fans? Are you just like, look, I just want to dance and I need something popular that's popping off to get people to join a crew with me? Like, how does it come about?
Honestly, how everything started, it was kind of on a whim. But at Howard University, we do have an actual Korean culture club. And
cool.
we are
Okay.
all members of that. And then from that, there was like a small group of people that were like, hey, do we have like an actual K-pop dance team? And we were like, no. And then they were just kind of like, oh, would you guys want to start one? And we were just like, yeah. And then we made a group chat and just kind of like continued forming everything from there. So it was just that a lot of us already somewhat knew each other through this like Korean culture club, and we're just kind of interested in expressing our interest in that culture with dance as well. So
that's very cool. Again, it's very impressive to me that it starts so casually. Like, it makes sense. But again, as somebody who can't dance, even if I was in a club and people were like, want to start this thing, I'd be like, not me. I love that for y'all, but it will not be me. I am curious how many people are in the group, because I remember it felt like there was a lot of y'all. I mean, a lot is relative in K-pop, to be clear, but
yeah.
I think we have a total of about like 30 to 35 members. Obviously, how active people are kind of varies. But some people, like Hannah said, joined from the Korean Culture Club. Me personally, I just saw it on Instagram as a freshman and I wanted to join. So some people joined after the fact from other places. But yeah, we usually have about 30 members who participate actively.
Wow, that's amazing. Is everybody coming to the K-pop dance team, all the members, or I assume there's tryouts, I'm not really sure the process, but are they all K-pop fans from jump? Or are there some people that are like, I just love dancing, y'all seem to be doing the thing, I'd like to join?
I think so far it's all K-pop fans, because we do have a lot of dance teams at Howard. So if you want to find your own niche, you can find it at Howard. but this is our, K-pop niche.
Cool. Okay, so y'all start the group. I've gone back through your Instagram, not even in preparation for this podcast, just after I saw y'all perform. I found y'all's Instagram, went through it, all that stuff. I don't know if like what's on the Instagram is like the entirety of the breadth of your work, if you will. So I was wondering what y'all's first K-pop cover was, and how did y'all decide like this is the one we're going to put out there?
So a lot of the planning that went into it, it was basically like we were all in the group meeting and we were like just throwing out suggestions. It was mostly like songs that had just come out. So at that time, this was this was the beginning of 2022, or maybe it was 2021. So the songs that had come out then was like Itzy had a new song out. There was ASAP by StayC. There was Step Back by Got the Beat. Like there were all these different songs, but I think conceptually, we thought that Girls' Generation's Into the New World was sort of perfect because when Girls' Generation came out with that song, it was very much about like this new wave of like feminism in Korea. And it kind of fit perfectly, like in that we were making a statement like that we were this organization coming onto Howard's campus that was so completely different. And it just made sense that like we were going to like come into this new world as like this new group. And it was basically perfect. So yeah, we sort of designed our concept around that. And like we call all the people who were around that time, and we call them like the Into the New World line.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
In the same way that like the next group that came in, it was sort of when Twice's next song had came out, but we ended up finding like the between 18 and 67 because our school was founded in 1867. So that's sort of like how we went about like doing the concept, and that's how we continue to put out our new work or put out our new members.
That's so cool. That is adorable. There may be listeners who aren't very familiar with like the K-pop world, I suppose, but like having lines and like concepts, like it's all very K-pop. And I just think it's so cute. Sounds like I'm like talking down. I mean, like I love it. I think like it's the best thing to see these K-pop dance teams will have like concepts and lines. And going to that K-pop competition, like a lot of the groups had like full on like fits. Like another thing about K-pop is the fashion. The fashion is going to be giving. Yeah. And a lot of these K-pop dance teams are like, we're going to look cohesive. We have looks, maybe looks on a budget. It does not matter. So I wonder, I know you said, Reinah, that you're the creative director now, or you were?
I am now. So last year, our old director was Destiny. She's actually a senior, so she graduated this year. But yeah, she definitely helped us with the whole making things, very streamlined with our vision.
What goes into trying to create a vision for a K-pop dance team? Like, what do you draw on, and how do you communicate? I don't know if there's a style, a vibe that you're going for when you're like putting yourselves out there.
Well, like this was, of course, a lot of mistakes we did and didn't make with trying to figure it out. But I know we use like mood boards and Pinterest, like getting inspiration. Obviously, we draw on the inspiration of the actual groups themselves. Like a lot of times we mimic certain outfits or poses and whatnot for the general vibe of how we do things. But also, I mean, we are Black, so there's like a little like extra bedazzle we kind of add in there. Like I think we like such a culture to move into the new world where I think it's like the Wakanda Forever thing. Instead of like one move was like this, we just did it like that instead. Like it's a collaborative process, but we still draw heavily on what they actually are doing. But I think as we progress, we've gotten to find our own styles and how we want to express ourselves through our dancing.
Yeah, I definitely, again, seeing different K-pop dance teams, not even just local, there's lots. If y'all are not familiar with this world, listeners, like there are people in your area, let me tell you what. But I just thought it was very interesting watching y'all perform. Like y'all definitely had a clear vision and focus. And so then when y'all were like, yeah, we're the first K-pop dance team out of HBCU, for some reason I was like, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. I see it. I do wonder, why is that distinction important for y'all?
I think considering the history of the industry that is K-pop and how heavily influenced it is by Black culture, it's just so interesting that like we were able to come together at a historically Black college and basically not just emulate these groups, but sort of show like where this culture is coming from and like create culturally relevant content basically. And also incorporate like our own cultures and our own intersections and identity when we're copying these groups or when we're performing their dances. because I mean, obviously, us having this background of Black culture, when we come into doing these dances, we're going to do these dances like it's natural for us. It
Yeah.
comes from our culture. It comes from like us growing up. And so many of us have backgrounds in hip hop or majorette or these other like very Black dance styles. So when we come into it, we're going to execute it completely different than someone else
Yeah.
who just has an interest in it because of some sort of Orientalism that they have secretly, or some other sort of like fetishizing view that they have on Asian culture and the way that they want to take it
Right.
on. So us saying that and us continuing to say that we're the first HBCU dance team, it really is important because like we have so many dance teams at our school, but that are so like relevant to these people's cultures, like Tropical Rhythms, which is like the Caribbean dance team, or the African dance teams that we have. Like it is very significant that like we were able to accomplish this in a school that is so much about being from a diaspora and coming from like so many intersecting identities. Like we're always going to reiterate that and say that like we were still able to do this at our college.
I think looking at y'all, or even, you know, there are other K-pop dance crews that are like Black or have Black people in them, like across the country and probably the world. I don't know. But I find personally, of course I'm biased, I'm Black, but when I see Black people performing K-pop songs, like there's an authenticity there. And I think you touched on it. Like this is originating and is heavily influenced by our culture. So it's nothing for us to, most of us, not me, it's nothing for us to like pick up this choreography and like, you know, run with it. And it's going to lend it an authenticity to it that is true to us, but also at the same time, not, I don't think, encroaching on or fetishizing, like you said, the culture that K-pop has created in the Korean context, you know? Then I really am proud that y'all are doing that, because I think highlighting that it's coming from a Black perspective and that like Black people have a piece of the story, I think is super important, you know, without decentering the Korean contributions. So I know you said there's a lot of dance teams and stuff on campus and stuff like that, but I was wondering if y'all could talk a little bit about what the reception has been like on and off campus, and has that changed over time as y'all have gotten a little bit more established?
Honestly, I've never really had anyone say anything negative. I know that it is true that within our community, sometimes we do side-eye people who are into things that are a little bit odd or weird to most Black people. But I think overall, although Howard can have its little issues, is usually a very supportive community no matter what. I've had people come up to me and be like, I recognize you from TikTok or YouTube, and I love
Period.
the dance you do. Like, it doesn't matter if it's they don't know about K-pop. It makes no sense to them. A lot of them still support us. Like, many people from Howard just follow us just because no matter what, we are still a community, and our interests, you know, are important to them, and we also support them and their interests. So I think that that's overall a very positive experience. I mean, I've gotten my friends personally who were not really into K-pop to listen to K-pop with me and just
That's what it's about.
experience this, like culture with me. Because some people grow up in sheltered areas. So I think introducing a slightly different worldview of Blackness is also very interesting. And so, yes, I've had people come to me being like, I've never listened to K-pop, but I love y'all. So y'all keep going, keep doing your thing.
We love to see it.
Yes.
I've honestly only had like one, I guess I wouldn't even call it negative. I had like one time I told like a friend the sort of like dance team that I'm on and the sort of like work that we do. And she was basically like, oh, I don't support that industry, but I love y'all. And it's a sort of thing where like I understand like when other Black people feel disrespected by like the industry of K-pop, because it very much is like an industry that makes its money off of the exploitation of an entire culture, an entire subculture. So, I mean, it's something that, you know, we sit in a lot. We sit in those contentions and contradictions a lot. And it's the sort of thing where, like, I just feel no ill will about it because my allegiance is not to K-pop. My allegiance is always going to be to Blackness and to Pan-Africanism. So, I mean, it's just water off a duck's back.
Just kind of adding on, like, I think especially like this past semester, we've experienced a lot more exposure for the team. You know, of course, you mentioned how we participated in the competition at the Korean Culture Center.
And won.
Yes, and won.
That part.
Can't forget that. That's important. But, you know, we've had the honor to participate in like showcases hosted by other teams that like we were invited to personally, which was like amazing for us because we never really expected for anything like that to happen, especially so soon. We also participated in a competition that was hosted by Connect DMV, which is, a really, really big hip hop dance team and group, like just in the DMV area in general. And so that was just really cool for us to be invited to places and recognized by other groups in the area for what we do. So that was just really cool.
That's awesome. I do. So we're talking about like the cultural exchange that happens between K-pop and hip hop, and sitting in that discomfort of K-pop industry can be very exploitative of Black culture, but like we as Black fans have to navigate that. But on the other side, I wonder, the question I wrote, I will read it as I wrote it because I think it's funny, but I was like, how do y'all fight the Koreaboo accusations? But in all seriousness, like, how do you balance, like, we inform this culture, but also being respectful, and like, where's that line for y'all? How do y'all navigate that, etc.?
This is a really good question, though. Like, the format of the question is so funny, but like, it's a really good question because, I mean, when you're experiencing like another culture, the worst thing to do is act as though like you're some sort of spokesperson for that culture or for those certain practices. And obviously, like, I'm a history student and I also study anthropology. So I understand like what it means to take a step back and sort of like find where things align within your own culture that you're coming from. And then also respecting like the culture that you're basically like being a guest within. I think for me, like the way that I quote unquote fight the Koreaboo accusations is by basically just studying, like looking at movements in Korea and seeing where they align with like movements within the African American community and understanding like how those cultural exchanges happen because of colonialism and because of war. And it's like war on communism in Korea and how Black culture was exported over to Korea by way of imperialism. And so understanding like that cross-pollination has been very essential, and understanding like, okay, look, you cannot have this obsession with this culture because it comes about through like a continued exploitation of so many people. And I think that like when you come and understand that, like there's no way that you in your right mind can sit there and like view that culture as less than or greater than your own culture, because there are things that you share in common. And then obviously, of course, you do have to stay in contention and just understand that like, even though these Korean people have this history of oppression, it still doesn't make it right that they continue to exploit Black culture. Sure. I mean, you do have to take like a little bit of a backseat and just say like, I understand that this exploitation of my culture happens, but I mean, the music still eats a little bit. I cannot lie. But I mean, that does not mean that I'm not also enjoying my own Black culture. I'm not also giving back to my people. Because I mean, we do this service on campus and by providing these dance performances and such on campus. But that does not mean that we're isolated from the Black community.
For sure. It's not mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah, and I think to Mia's point, I mean, I personally have been a K-pop fan since like Gangnam Style, so it's been a very long time. Like, I think when I was, of course, I was really young when that song came out. So when I was out in middle school, I'm also an anime fan, so I also had those two phases kind of correspond. But I think because of the way I grew up, my parents exposing me to a lot of culture, like we even lived in Japan for a little bit, so like, I've always learned to respect culture as, they're people, they have their own flaws, they have their own great aspects to their own culture. So I've learned to view them as people and not get too caught up in like, oh, this is so fun and quirky. I know in the United States, we are kind of taught to like exotify people who are different than us. But I think when I being able to reflect on myself as a Black person and seeing the way that I've been exotified, it's obviously made me really try to respect other people's cultures and the way that they exist and interact. And then also, like Mia said, like existing in those weird areas. It's not like when making K-pop, it's not like they didn't know that they were also exploiting Black people. Like they basically Lee Suman, who's the CEO or ex-CEO of SM, and he's basically credited with how K-pop functions in the first place. He said that this was Black people music. Like he said, I like what they do, and I want to be able to use their culture to make ourselves popular and famous. Like I know that that music is valued by a lot of people. So I think there is like a back and forth between how we respect people and what lines are crossed. I mean, I've seen so many incidents of K-pop idols being like, "Oh yes, Black people is struggle music. Like I want to struggle more so I can do their music."
Yeah.
Had a certain member from Big Bang, or
Let's not.
oh, stuff does happen. But I think even if that is how people respond to our culture, it's not right for us to respond in the same way. Like there is a respect that needs to be had. No matter what, it's not right for me to be like, oh, I'm so cute. I just wish I was Korean. Like, this is an issue that we see a lot online. But we have to understand these are people with real culture and with real history. And as a part of the human experience, I think that it's always important to respect other people in an exchange, even if the exchange is a little bit, suspicious, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like as Black people, I just feel like we know how it feels to be kind of like looked at as if you're just kind of like not the typical. And I just think like everyone on this team, no matter what, like we're Black first. I just think we all kind of have that mentality. So it's just how we keep ourselves in check and keep other people on the team in check as well.
Was there any like conscious effort into fostering that type of culture, or did that kind of just naturally progress having so many people come from like the Korean culture club?
I honestly think it's just something that just kind of happened like organically. I think just especially like when you're on like an HBCU campus, like that's just kind of like the energy that surrounds you. And so I just think it's very special that we were able to bring something like that to the team and just be like, hey, we're all interested in this one thing, but like at the end of the day, like we're Black first.
Period.
No, honestly, I think it really is like no coincidence that we were able to create this team on Howard's campus, because I think that Howard really has like for a long time been such a great place for political discourse and for like other discourses in Black studies. And like the fact that we already consciously understand that and like we're continuing to learn it in like our course load. The fact that we're able to translate that into not necessarily like a praxis, but like a way of like working forward within our team. It makes so much sense that like One Oak exists on Howard's campus.
Yeah. And I think also, like, I've done it personally for my classes. Like, I've done essays and analyzing the use of K-pop and how it exists within Black culture. And there's a lot of people on this team who are very smart and also have the same exact discussions. We've also already discussed it, especially when idols do something that's anti-Black. Like, we discuss it. We understand our own boundaries with how we want to interact with stuff to keep ourselves safe. And also just respecting where we come from. Because like Hannah said, we are Black first. So, K-pop will never be more serious than being Black. Like I personally am okay with, one group says something that's a bit too far for me. That's, it is what it is. I'm not going to hold on to it. I'm mature enough to know that it's not that big of a deal. But at the same time, we do live in an existence that can be anti-Black everywhere. That's kind of one of those things that was exported with colonialism. We know how Blackness was exported internationally. There are other countries that exploit Black culture in a very similar way. So there is a weird way to interact with it, but like a lot of people on this team are smart enough and well read enough to have these very nuanced, existences on campus.
Yeah. A few episodes ago, I interviewed Mars Sebastian, Mars in Charge on the internet everywhere. And we talked about, advice to people, especially Black fans who are kind of new to fandom spaces, whether it's anime, K-pop, K-dramas, like advice we would give them. And something that she said that I think is so true and so smart is that you need to know yourself. Like you don't want to lose yourself to fandom. And like that's basically what y'all are hitting on. Like we know who we are Black first, and we're bringing that to this space, but we're not going to lose ourselves in the space. And I do think I see that happen a lot in these fandoms, and that's how you can it's not always one-to-one, but like that is also how you can end up, in this like Koreaboo, weeaboo weird place, because like you've made the fandom your identity, right? Rather than centering who you are and what you're doing. Yeah, so I love that y'all do that. I think that's super important. I was curious, maybe I should have asked this up top, but like what are y'all's dance backgrounds, prior to the K-pop dance crew, if y'all have any?
Well, me personally, I have no like formal dance experience like whatsoever. I was always like a very, very casual dancer, just like for fun. And I didn't really start dancing for real until I joined this dance team. And for me, it was just kind of on a whim. And I was just like, why not? So,
wow. Okay. Just flex on me a bit. That's fine. Cool.
I'm also the same experience as Hannah, where the last formal dance training I've done was when I was 6 and I did ballet, like, a lot of young girls do. And so my dance training is nothing. My parents just want to make sure I had enough rhythm to grow up and have rhythm, and that was it. Like, I didn't even do anything artsy besides like drawing and whatnot. Like, I didn't do musical theater, I didn't do show choir. Like, so I think this was stepping out of my comfort zone, but like, yeah, it was just also on a whim. Like, yeah, I could do this.
Wow. Okay. Mia?
So me, I've been on a stage my whole life. Like, I did ballet throughout elementary school. I did jazz. I did tap. In middle school, I did contemporary and lyrical. And then in high school, I switched it up. And that's when I started doing majorette. And then I took like a really long break. And one of was like the next time that I ever like did dance formally. So, it really has been like a healing journey to like be able to pick dance back up and do it in like a group of such great people.
Mm-hmm. That's so nice. It sounds like then y'all have a very, I mean, just from the three of y'all, it sounds like the team is very varied as far as like their background and their experience. So how do you go about even starting the team, but like, okay, now we're going to learn this dance. Like, what is the process like? Do you have like people who are more experienced in dance, like break down the choreography for each other? Like, how did that happen? See, this might be a Dance 101 question, and I don't know. I can't tell.
Honestly, I feel like how we go about learning a dance, it honestly varies from dance to dance, just let alone like choosing dances. It's just like someone comes up with an idea that they're really passionate about. And then typically there's a group of people that's like, okay, yeah, let's see this out. Let's see how this works. And we just kind of take it from there. There are like a few people in particular on the team who are kind of like looked to, oversee some things. And those are typically the people who do actually have past dance experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like Avery, who was our vice president this previous year and who is now our acting president. Like, she has a lot of dance experience, so she's kind of someone we call on to, look over everything, make sure everything looks okay. And we have a few other people on the team like that. But just like generally, a lot of the time it'll be us just kind of like looking at the dance on our own for maybe a day or two, just kind of seeing what we can pull from watching it on our own, and then we'll meet up and take things from there. And I think now, having been together for a while, like, we've kind of figured out how like everyone learns most effectively. Like, some people need to do it with someone else and they need to be walked through each step, but there are other people who can just watch it a few times and then maybe with like a few tips can mostly get it on their own. So it's just kind of us trying to adapt to everyone's learning styles, which at times can be a lot, but I feel like we always come out with a good product at the end.
So it's not like a regular K-pop group, because I always talk about that one member who is like, they don't even need to like practice. They just see it once and they can dance it. So we all go talk to that person to figure out how to do this new choreography.
Yeah. And just like it's different with each dance because, like everyone has like a different style. So it's just like some people might learn this dance quicker than another one. And so they might be able to help everyone else on this one. But then on a different dance, they might need a little more help, be a little stuck. So it's just kind of everyone helping each other out.
That's true, too. That makes sense. I know y'all said earlier that y'all don't really have like a preference as far as like what styles of dance y'all cover. But, being that there's so many members, I assume like there's definitely some people who lean more towards this style, more towards that style. And I just wonder how y'all balance that, I guess, like trying to make sure everybody's feeling like, oh, I'm doing something that I like. Is there a process for that? Or it's just kind of like, we vibe in the group chat and people seem unhappy, then we address it.
We actually had like this idea of a PowerPoint night basically where people present their ideas for the whole song. So not just the dance, but also like the outfits, the videography ideas, like the photo shoot ideas. And I mean, we have members who are more girl group stands, like I am, and there's people who are more boy group stands. So that definitely affects like who presents what songs, like what is chosen. But there are people who are willing to try all dances. Like I will try any dance. So, and there's some people who only prefer doing more boy group dances because that's what they're best at. So
Got it.
usually it's like a voting idea. Like we try to be as democratic as possible. There are definitely some times where people first come and like figure it out on the side and they present it to the e-board being like, hey, we want to do this dance. We kind of already organized it. we're going to go ahead and do it, and we just approve it and let them go from there. So we usually the voting process, sometimes it's like a side project type thing, but usually we try to hear everyone's ideas because, it's a lot of people and a lot of people have a lot of opinions.
Yeah, because for the listeners who are kind of new to K-pop or aren't really in K-pop, like the choreography styles very wildly. Like we do say, K-pop's very informed by hip-hop, obviously, R&B, all of that. That's true. But even within K-pop, the styles of like choreography and dancing very wildly, which is why personally, like I like girl groups, but I'm not like standing girl groups, because for me the biggest thing is like I want people to eat up the stage. I wish they would let these girls eat up the stage. Like I want like hard choreography, like let them dance. Like I don't need, it's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm not trying to make anybody at home mad. Like it's totally fine. Girl choreography is just not what I'm here for. You know what I'm saying? And so I really love getting into like you start learning about K-pop dance groups. Like, yeah, all sorts of people doing all sorts of dance. Like I love seeing girls eat up the stage. You know what I'm saying? Like I want them to get it. Like there's girl crush, but like even that's still not, it's not scratching the itch. You know what I mean? Where was I going with that? I got real passionate there for a second and lost my way.
I love the passion.
Oh, I was just explaining like it does vary a lot. And so trying to meet, like scratch everybody's little itches would be challenging. But I also think it's very interesting because like you said, some people are better at some things and you'll see groups, not K-pop groups, also K-pop groups, but I mean like dance crews, dance teams that will specialize in a certain style. And I feel like from my non-dancer point of view, it takes a lot of talent to be able to just switch through the different styles. K-pop is very influenced by hip-hop. In y'all's experience, how does K-pop dancing differ from hip-hop if y'all have that experience to draw on?
It's a lot cleaner. Like you see clear pictures and lines. This is me like using dancer talk now. But it's like
I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah. But it's like whenever a singular like move is done to a particular beat, you can see a particular picture that's trying to say something. And even though it does like draw from hip hop a lot, I've never seen a K-pop dance that's as relaxed as a black hip hop choreo, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I knew exactly what you meant by pictures and lines because again, I said I'm rhythmically challenged, but by black standards, not by general standards. I was in marching band, so
okay.
hitting pictures and lines. I'm like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying because K-pop definitely does have that like of like we're moving, ooh. We're moving. Ooh, like there's like pictures they're moving towards each time. And like that's also partly why the formations shift, yada, yada, yada.
Yes.
But I don't think I'd ever thought of it that way. But that's true. Like hip hop, that was for the longest time, I think, one of the biggest draws of the style is like it looks so effortless. It's like this relaxed, like cool. That's what gives it that cool vibe that everybody and their mother was so drawn to. Yeah, it's never that relaxed. And I assume that's by design and that's fine. Do y'all have covers that y'all would like to do or like that have been brought, but like maybe for where y'all are now or too complex or just like we don't have like enough of these types of dancers to do them? Like, are there covers you would like to do to challenge yourselves, but for one reason or other, it's just not on deck yet?
Oh my God. So the big thing right now is like numbers. So back in last summer, we did a cover of Hot by 17. And now I'm not a 17 stan, so I don't know the exact number of members that they have, but it's
13.
they have 13 members. And bringing 13 people together in the middle of the summer to produce that cover was a little challenging. So we continue to throw out suggestions like NCT, which I think they're in the 20s now. I think they're still adding members.
It's too many. I'm so sorry to NCT. I can't. It's too many. It's a lot.
Or like, so I was a very big Orbit for a very long time. And every time we throw out suggestions, I always suggest LOONA. And they have 12 members. So it really is anything over like 7. That's when we get into like the danger zone of like, how can we bring people together and like have capacity building? It gets a little tricky. Like the one song, every single time it fails that. Every time we have a PowerPoint on, we always bring up Favorite by NCT. We call it like the unofficial One Oak theme song because it always gets brought up. But we always remember we're like, we can't do a cover with 20 people. And then we just forget it.
They do. K-pop groups, they get up there in numbers. And it wasn't something I had considered. I get what you have to do then. If it's too many, it's just like a no. But there are also K-pop groups that like have smaller numbers. So do just a small section of the team do those covers? Or is it like y'all kind of adjust the choreography to fit like bigger numbers? Like I'm thinking, for instance, I don't know if y'all have covered them, but I really like Card, for example. And there's only 4 members there. Like how do y'all navigate that type of choreography?
We did it once, and we decided we're not going to ever do it again. Because when we did our hot cover, we had 11 members, not 13.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, we learned this dance in maybe like 2 weeks. Like we learned it over the summer,
Wow.
and we came back, and then we had to perform it. And trying to rearrange who was where and figure out what was going on. And obviously 17 has some really difficult dances. So having people, and they're also in sync as well. So there's a lot of things going on, and having to like change the choreo to make sense for people moving, because 17 choreography, they have them running around and all this other stuff. We decided that we're going to just try to stick to an original amount of members. Obviously, for our showcases, we do rearrange the choreo because no one's singing, and it's not necessarily done in the same way that our video covers have been done. Yeah, usually we just have like I think it's called like a battle royale, where we put the list up. People get to just run and fight for what position they want. And then
Oh my gosh.
we call it a day, because we've learned that rearranging choreography for us is very difficult. And we've decided, for our sake and the fact that we still have to get a degree, we're not going to worry about it.
You know, that's totally fair. Like, we're having this conversation, and I'm like, obviously very impressed with stuff that y'all are doing, but y'all are doing this while going to classes. Like, I think it's key for us all to remember that. Of course, all these K-pop dance teams are like, it's hobbies, but like, y'all are actively in college getting degrees. Like, that's a lot. That is a lot. And have branding and stuff. Like, I really urge, of course, the links will be in the show notes, as always. I really urge people to scroll through y'all's Instagram. Like, y'all are putting in the work as far as like Instagram branding, like fits, like all little parts you could have phoned in, but like y'all are doing all of it, and it's a lot to cover. I would like to know, beyond the HBCU sphere, or specifically the Howard sphere, what are y'all hoping to accomplish, or what kind of changes would y'all hope to affect within the K-pop dance team ecosystem?
Something that was really touching to me was that we got reached out by other HBCUs about our K-pop dance team. And to me, that's like, that's really sweet. Like, they're like asking, like, they always wanted to do it and didn't have like the direction or enough people, or they thought they didn't have enough people to do that. So for me, that's like something that's really touching, like having other Black people feel confident in doing it. Because like I said, this is kind of like some people view it as a quirky little interest that people have. Some Black people kind of look down on K-pop as well, and
for sure,
be judgmental about it. So I think that making people feel comfortable having their interests that might not be stereotypical is okay and safe. And then also representing, I guess I don't want to call myself a weird Black girl or anything like that, but more nerdy, fandom-y as well. And then also in the K-pop space, sometimes they don't really give enough credit to Black stans. At times we don't always
let's talk about that.
It can be very hostile at times. And also, I've been watching K-pop covers forever, and there's not as many all Black groups as I would like, or they're not visible. So if we can be visible as possible, so other, people, Black or not, can see us, I think that's really important. Because we've had people come up to us while we're doing covers being like, there you go, just a group of Black people dancing. I think that's super cool. Like, even if they don't know anything about K-pop, they want to join, they just really like our energy. So I think it's just kind of spreading that positivity of being an all Black group, and I guess representing something a bit different.
I would say that something else like that I think we can also influence is just encouraging people to dance regardless of skill level, or regardless of like lack of formal training. Because just like I said, like joining this team and being able to like dance but not be a part of like any sort of like formal organization, and doing this sort of dance later in life, like outside of secondary education or primary school education, and be able to like experience being on a team and connecting with other Black women and Black people, it really has been very healing. And I think that like more people should be able to like gather and start dance teams on their own, and just start them like people that they know and people that they care about, and just get out there and just dance. If you like a dance, just learn it, because honestly, it really will heal your inner child. And I mean, it's good physical exercise too, but it really is something like very spiritual about being able to like connect with others and be a part of like something bigger than yourself.
I think that's so true. I think so much of what we do as creators, whatever you're creating, whether you're like an artist, a dancer, a writer, whatever, I think a lot of stuff today like pushes us to like A, be solo, and B, make content. And there's nothing wrong with making content, but like when you're able to center like, oh, we're going to connect over this and like connection and doing it together and maybe not even making content. Again, it's fine to make content, but when you're decentering that, I find like that's just, it inspires me so much. I'm way more inspired when I'm working with people just on the side, just talking about stuff that's not even for other people necessarily and getting excited together versus just sitting here looking at my calendar like, man, I need content for next week. You know what I mean? Like that's so much more special. One of my last questions before we go is maybe a hard question. I do this all the time. I've tried to get better about it. I always ask questions like this right at the end, like this will be a quick little question, but I've started to try and do better about formatting the whole episode because I realize these take longer than you would think. So my question is, what is each of y'all's favorite K-pop choreography?
Oh wow. That's a great question. Oh.
See, it's one of those things that's like, it seems simple, but actually though, is it?
I mean, I might answer the ones that I've already done, I guess, because, once you learn a dance, you realize it's a lot harder or you might not like it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But this is a group I love. So it was the group I picked and the cover turned out so well, which is Breathe by Miss A. I love Miss A. People forget about, second gen girl groups a lot, especially Miss A because
They do.
JYP squandered them and I will always stand by that. But they were a really popular group, and this is their first comeback after their iconic debut, which is Good Girl, Bad Girl. And it's like a really cute song. It's really camp. It's kind of ridiculous. Like honestly, if someone asked me to show them a K-pop song and like that wasn't embarrassing, I wouldn't introduce that song. But it's just so fun and super silly and very unserious, and it's high energy. That dance did challenge me because I forgot how to do a handstand. I had to hold a handstand, and there's like jumping and whatnot. But like, it was just so much fun to do with the other members. Like Hannah was also on that dance. It was so much fun. And it just reminded me how much fun K-pop can be, how silly it can be, and how it's not serious. And then we also got to film at a fun location, even though the filming day was like very long. It got to be very colorful. Some kids walked by and were just like super excited to see us doing this fun little dance. It's just something about that just sparked so much joy within me, especially because this was, I think, like in the springtime and things like that. Like nothing about this cover could make me upset. Like everything about it made me so happy. And that's why it just makes very fondly thinking about it right now.
What a wholesome answer.
I'm also going to take a page out of Reinah's book and mention a cover that we've already done. And she was also in this one. We've done quite a few covers together now that I think about it. But it's Love Dive by IVE.
Okay.
Look, everyone who knows me on the team knows that, like, I'm for the boys. I am a boy group stan. But Love Dive was the first girl group song that I actually suggested to the team. Okay. And it was also, like, one of the first songs that I guess technically I was just kind of, like, in charge of. So it was a very big deal to me. And I'm just so proud of how everything came out. And I just think we all look so great. And like, I still go back and watch it. And I get so happy when I look at it. And I remember that day we also met Georgetown Vibe. And I think that was like our first kind of like official interaction with like another K-pop dance team in the area. So that was also really, really fun. It was just a very fun day.
What about you, Mia?
When you asked that question, it literally made my head spin. Like, it was so crazy. But I mean, the way I'm going to break it down is like nostalgia and then like what I like now. So like in terms of nostalgia, obviously the Boys by Girls generation, listen, it changed lives. Their light bill was due. Their water was off. They had to ride the bus to the studio. They went in. They had no choice but to eat. like it chewed so bad. I love Like This by Wonder Girls by Wonder Girls. It's so fun. It's a quick little dance. It's not too complicated. Like it's just fun to do. Now, like going into like third gen, fourth gen, I'll obviously say Danger by BTS. I'm forcing our team to do it this year because it's a very fun dance.
I've been talking about it forever.
Yes.
It's a little complicated, but it looks very nice. And then also I would say Butterfly by LOONA. Obviously I'm an Orbit, but my favorite moment in that choreography is in the final chorus. They all go into a circle and like they all sort of like release each other. You just have to pull up the video and just look at it, but it's just so beautiful, and it just means so much to me because it's sort of about like being connected, and then like maybe like you lose your way, but you're always gonna come back together. And the way that like they show that in the dance, it's just so beautiful.
I'm excited to see both covers. I'm rooting you on as far as getting the LOONA one off the ground. You know, I asked y'all that question. I don't got an answer. Like, I just ask y'all the hard questions, and I just sit back like, ooh, couldn't be me. I couldn't answer that. It's a hard question. Like, because you were like, oh, here's the nostalgia, and here's the, because that's true. It's like, oh, do you go to with the nostalgia answer, or do you like,
Exactly.
I will do an underrated one. How about that? Like, I think K-pop song that has underrated choreography, and it's going to be an unpopular opinion, but hear me out, is Illusion by ATEEZ. Now listen. Okay, period. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Over here. We love
Look,
the team. Yeah.
look.
Okay. My people. I found my people.
Yeah.
Period. In general, their choreography, they be eaten. But I feel like Illusion is super underrated because, like, it's like this quirky, cute, but like, just if you really watch, like, it's like cute, but like with, I don't know the dancer terms. It's not edge, but like finesse, maybe. I don't know. I think it's like very clever, the choreography, and very fun and light. I think that's it, is that it feels light. But when you really look, it's like, oh, it's not easy necessarily. You know, I love that type of like juxtaposition where like artists in general make something feel effortless, but then you really look or pay attention or listen and you're like, well, hold on now. Hold on.
Yeah.
That's my jam. You know, if y'all ever want to do ATEEZ Illusion, hey, I know that's above 7. That's 8, right? So like maybe.
Hey, look.
Listen,
We did ATEEZ
We did it once before.
dance break, so I think we could do it again. I think we
We
can
can do it again.
Okay,
Yeah, did
we
y'all
already
do
did Wonderland.
Yeah, Wonderland, the Kingdom version, didn't y'all?
Yeah, we did the
Yeah.
Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, period. All right. Well, I am looking forward to that. I will hound y'all on your socials. Just kidding. Am I? We'll see. What do y'all got coming up this semester? I assume y'all got stuff already like maybe in the works that you could share. How about that? That you could share.
Well,
Oh
eye out for like September 29th to October 1st. There might be like a performance happening in the National Mall or something. You know. So you'll have to check out our Instagram to figure it out what's happening.
Okay. Heard that.
One thing I do really enjoy is our photo shoots. A lot of people at the beginning were like unsure about taking photos, but I think for sure as we grow, it just gets exciting every time we have a new cover with our different like photo concepts and picture concepts and trailers and whatnot. So keep an eye out.
I'm excited. Actually, I was curious. Like, do y'all just work with other people in the school to help like with videography and stuff? Or is that like all in team? Like y'all?
It's
all in-house. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is so cool. Everybody will have to go follow the Instagram. In fact, go ahead. Thank y'all for joining me, but please tell the good folks before we get out of here where they can find y'all.
You can find us at HU_108K on Instagram and TikTok. And then a link in our bio to our link tree links our YouTube, our Twitter, and any other relevant links you would like to know.
Including things that may or may not be coming up, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. And thank you all for listening and joining us. You know what it is. I want y'all to let me know your favorite K-pop choreos because there's a lot. There's many generations, girl groups, boy groups, doesn't matter, everything in between. Let me know. You can do that. If you're on Spotify, you can actually answer the question. There's a question on Spotify directly, or you can follow me at CultureX Podcast on Twitter or Instagram and let me know there because I love me a good choreo. But until next time, keep it chill and keep it nerdy.